Unsung Murder Ballads discusses topics of a disturbing nature.
And we're not going to hold back on the graphic details and disturbing content.
So we do not recommend our podcast for children under the age of 13.
And while we respect the victims and their families involved in these tragic cases,
we're also going to be critical of mistakes that are made during the investigations.
And we're going to use dark humor to express ourselves now and then.
So with that said, this podcast may not be for everyone.
And that's okay. We're glad you're here checking us out.
And if you've made it this far, welcome to the Unsung Murder Ballads family. And follow us on Instagram at Unsung Murder Ballads if you want to talk to us.
Hey everybody, welcome back to Unsung Murder Ballads. This is episode 128. I am Janice Dead.
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
All right, so tonight we have our next murder ballad, Fumbles. So that's always a good time.
Woohoo!
Oh, I can't wait to see the stupidity or hear the stupidity.
Oh, and there's a lot of it in this episode. I'm not going to lie.
Oh, good.
So I do want to preface this by saying to any listeners that for whatever reason have not heard any of our fumbles before, this is us making fun of idiot criminals. This is not going to be a very serious, episode at all. Yes, there are...
Go back and listen to the others.
Right. And yes, there are crimes, and yes, there are victims, but nobody's going to die,
Woohoo!
And
not even criminals?
No one, maybe someone, obviously, eventually people in this episode will die, but there's no murders in this episode. Let me put it that way.
Everyone does eventually. That is
Yes.
a good point.
But before we really begin, I saw something on the news the other day and wanted to talk about it briefly, just because it could have easily have been on this episode, but I just want to touch on it because it's hilarious. But by the time it airs, it will be 2 weeks old because it's roughly a week old now. Did you guys hear about the guy who was stalking Jennifer Aniston and crashed his car through the gate of her house?
I did not. Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah, he's right now being tested for mental competency before his trial. So we'll see what happens.
Classic.
Yeah, crazy. Just like, I don't get celebrity stalking, although I do have my favorite celebrities. But the idea of crashing your car through the gate of her property is ridiculous.
Yeah, not very nonchalant of you, my dude.
Right. And you would think this would have, no offense against her, she's still a beautiful woman, but you would think this would have happened to her back when she was on Friends. Like, you know what I mean? But now she's
probably had stalkers throughout.
That's true, but no one crashing through her front gate.
No. No one quite so bold.
That's absolutely ridiculous. And then the video footage I saw of this guy, he was behind a glass, like he was behind a window in the courtroom wearing nothing but a blanket. Like he had no shirt on. His lawyer's on the inside of the glass talking to the judge, and he's on the other side, and he looks like he's going to a toga party.
Oh, okay. He's really going for the not mentally present angle.
And that's why I'm wondering if it's just bullshit. I can't wait to see how this plays out. So, yeah, we'll update everybody. All right. So let's dive into these idiot criminals.
All right, let's do it.
On October 31st, 2003, a lawyer by the name of Jerry Curry, who worked for the Wills and Probate Attorney's Office, was in court in Van Nuys, California, representing a client of his that had special needs. It was part of like a special needs trust, and it was owned by a man named William Streer. The person he was representing said that Streer was threatening her life, and she wanted out of the trust and wanted her share of it. So Jerry Curry, this lawyer, had never met Streer before. But Streer was upset that the lawyer, Jerry Curry here, is being paid out of this trust, even though he's not really representing his own interests.
Right.
Right. So it's kind of fucked up. So after that moment, Jerry, the lawyer, is walking out of the courthouse, and he hears a man approach him and say, "Are you Mr. Curry?" When Jerry says yes, he looks up to see a man standing there who is, in fact, William Streer. And William Streer just pulls out a gun and shoots him.
Oh, Jesus.
So Jerry said he didn't even see the gun. He just heard this popping sound. And he only knew he had been shot because blood splattered like up on his face.
What?
I kid you not, because sometimes the bullets are so hot that you don't feel it. It kind of burns the nerve endings. So,
Oh, okay. And
so
shock, I guess.
exactly. So he falls to the ground, but then starts like scrambling for cover and making himself a moving target.
Mm-hmm.
At the same time that this is going on, an off-duty deputy who was working at traffic court that day by the name of David Katz was walking outside the courthouse when he heard a pop, pop, pop sound. He quickly realizes it's a shooting, and he watched as 64-year-old Streer is firing bullets at the lawyer, Jerry Curry. Now, there's video footage of this, which I'm going to get into in a moment why we have video footage of this. But Jerry is literally shielding himself behind a tree, moving from side to side, dodging bullets.
What the
Oh
fuck?
my god.
This tree is like maybe 3 to 4 inches wide. So this realistically should not be working.
Yeah, no kidding.
And yet there's Streer just shooting at him, moving the gun from side to side like he's playing whack-a-mole. And this fucking lawyer is just dodging from side to side.
That's funny.
The video footage comes because there was a news cameraman by the name of Frank Alley who was present. He was literally there to cover a different trial and was packing up his stuff when he heard the gunshots. So
my God.
So he looks up and sees Jerry dancing behind this tree, and he scrambles and gets his camera out. Now,
Naturally.
the off-duty deputy, David Katz, he's in like a suit and tie, and he's unarmed, and he's sitting there like, the last thing I want to do is get involved in a shooting. But when everybody starts yelling out, someone said that there was an officer down. So at that point, David springs into action. As he's moving forward, Streer, who has now unloaded his weapon and has put it back in his pocket, starts moving away, saying to the lawyer, quote, "That's what you get for taking my money," unquote.
Oh, Lord.
Wow. Okay.
So as Streer is trying to like casually walk away, the cameraman Frank yells out, "That's the shooter," right as he's passing David. And David tackles him to the ground, hitting him fucking hard and fast.
The nonchalance of this shooting is kind of wild.
Right in front of the courthouse.
Yeah.
This guy, we'll get into why he probably thought he could get away with this.
Because it happens in the movies.
Yeah, that too. So 53-year-old Jerry Curry had suffered multiple gunshot wounds that day to his arms and one into his neck, but he does survive.
Let's go.
Now, Streer, at his trial, he was brought in on a gurney because of supposed back problems.
On a gurney, okay.
But he would have to be removed from the courtroom because he was being disruptive. He would just make scenes and make arguments and just overall being an asshole.
Well, this guy sounds like a fucking problem. I'm glad we were trying to take his money in the first place.
Right? Streer was convicted that following January of premeditated attempted murder against Jerry. He was sentenced to life in prison plus 25 years.
Oh, nice. For attempted murder? I feel like we don't always see that.
We never see that, but here's why. The judge gave Streer the maximum sentence, citing a probation report that Streer had previously shot his neighbor for no apparent reason back in 1969.
What the fuck?
That other victim had been shot 4 times and survived. And Streer was initially convicted of assault, but that conviction was later dismissed. So that's why he thought he could get away with it. He's done it before.
That's insane.
That's idiocracy at its finest.
Streer had claimed that in that earlier case that he had blacked out and couldn't remember shooting anybody. And he tried to do the exact same thing after shooting Jerry Curry. That he was on pain medication and diet pills, and he had taken a couple shots of whiskey that day, so he didn't remember anything.
Oh, yeah, so he's fine. Just let him keep living.
Right? Just, sorry, I'll stop shooting people, I promise. It won't happen again. Fucking idiot.
Insane.
So the judge in the Curry case says, quote, "It worked for him last time. It isn't going to work for him this time," unquote. Now, Streer, he had to be taken from the courtroom after he started to read a prepared statement condemning the jury for his conviction.
Holy
fuck?
hell.
Streer blasted the judge, his attorney, a jailhouse doctor, and even his own sister in a 20-minute diatribe.
Oh my God. Wow. He's really going down with a bang.
It's crazy. I honestly, I should have looked up the video footage of this, but I didn't. But I'm sure it's more annoying than anything else. But he blamed his attorney for failing to keep him informed during the trial and not calling appropriate witnesses. He blamed his sister for hiring said attorney. He blamed the judge for refusing to let him fire said attorney.
Oh my God.
He blamed the court's equipment for making it difficult for him to hear what was going on during the trial.
Holy crap. It's everybody else's fault but his.
Everybody. And he blamed the jail's doctor for not giving him the proper medication that he needed.
Oh, come on.
Narcissism, man. It's an amazing thing.
Crazy.
It's so ridiculous. So the judge had warned Streer not to blame anybody in his remarks, but he ignored it and just kept going on and on and on, and had to be removed from his own sentencing trial or sentencing hearing, and he could still be heard yelling from the holding area.
Holy crap.
So awesome.
Oh, that's so crazy.
So David Katz received a Medal of Valor and is still a reserve deputy in charge of search and rescue units in Los Angeles, which is pretty cool. Jerry Curry said that he was satisfied that Streer would never leave prison, and William Streer died in prison sometime before 2013, but I couldn't find any further information on his actual death.
Later.
Right? I'm sure he just pissed somebody off. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it seems like he would be doing that everywhere he went.
Yeah, always blaming someone else. And in prison, you can't really get away with that. Someone's going to get so pissed off at you. Some of these people have nowhere else to go.
Truly. All you have to do is argue.
All right, so that's our obligatory attempted murder case. Now we're going to get into some of the more ridiculously stupid and over-the-top crimes. This is a fun...
Hell yeah.
Yeah, this is going to be fun. This next one is about Jose Santiago Jr.
All right.
Jose was 33 years old when he decided his hometown could use just, one more police officer. So he did what anyone would do, and he unofficially volunteered without telling anyone else that he was going to be doing this. Yeah. He went out and he went out and bought an old police car. He mounted red and blue lights on the dashboard. He's out there pretending to be a cop. And one day,
Isn't that a felony?
It is very much a felony.
It is, but ICE does it every day, so apparently rules don't exist.
Yeah, that's because they're wearing masks and we can't identify them. Yeah. Sounds like the federales in Mexico, just saying.
Yerp.
Except they do it because they actually do have shit to fear from the cartels.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the people in the U.S., we're not so likely to grab them and string them up or get their families, but who knows? Fuck, this country's going crazy.
Yeah, it is.
So one day, when a driver pulled into Santiago's apartment complex, he blocked the guy's car with his own and then motioned for the guy to pull over. Now, Santiago's not wearing any kind of uniform, which is amazing to me because you can actually buy those. But he walks over and he starts yelling at the guy. He's like, "Do you have a problem?" And started laying into him about his driving, claiming that the guy was doing 65 miles an hour. The guy gets out of his car and says to him, "Are you a police officer?" And Santiago said, "Yes." So the guy asked to see his ID, and Santiago refused and continued with his tough cop routine.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when it turned into a fake cop's worst nightmare. Because the driver he pulled over pulled out his own wallet and showed him his badge.
Oh, no.
His name was Jeremy Gogan, and he happened to be an off-duty police officer, and he arrested Santiago right there and then. Now,
that's hilarious.
Unfortunately, there's no more information on exactly what charges he faced or what happened to Santiago. I could not find that anywhere, but that shit's too funny. So
that's hilarious.
Yes, definitely one of my favorite ones. I'm not going to lie. What are the odds? Speaking of odds, right? About a week and a half ago, we saran wrapped one of the girls that works for us. We saran wrapped her car, right? We thought it was fun.
Mhm.
And then a couple days later, we TP'd her car. Just fun. The next step I was going to do was take her car keys and move her car to a different spot.
Mhm.
But before I could do that, the same night I was going to do it, all of a sudden, we see a police car come barreling into our parking lot and go towards the back of the building. And then another. And then another.
What the fuck?
And then another. Okay? I'm not kidding. There were probably 5 or 6 police cars back there.
What the fuck?
It turns out that some drunken patrons from my restaurant/bar, on their way out, one of them decided that he was going to urinate all over a car. Happened to pick this girl's
God.
car. Okay?
Oh my god.
And the other assholes are videotaping him doing it.
What the fuck?
And while they're doing it, and I kid you not, this is true, this is real life, the girl's parents just happened to pull in and were parking to come visit her. And they
Oh my god.
and they see someone pissing on her car.
Oh my god, what the fuck? I wouldn't even know how to react.
So I don't even know how to explain it. They initially said that they thought it was the next escalation in the pranks because she had been telling them about it.
Right.
Until they realize this guy is legitimately urinating on her car. So the father jumps out and is arguing with the guy, who now is starting to threaten violence. The brother and his wife, because they're also in the car, call 911, and that's what caused the police to come so quickly. At this point, I only know that there are cop cars behind my restaurant. So I walk out there, I introduce myself to the police. I'm like, hey, I'm the manager. Is there anything I should be aware of? Because I'm thinking there could have been a violent incident. They just tell me no, some idiot was urinating on a car. And I go back inside. I thought it was overkill, but And then as it slowly leaks out that that's what had happened, we were all like, what are the odds that it was her car and that her parents would pull up? Ridiculous.
That's crazy.
What's even crazier, though, is this kid. I guess he's like in his early 20s. According to the cops, he's now going to have to be a registered sex offender.
Yeah.
For public indecency.
Yeah,
Yep.
crazy.
That's pretty public knowledge.
Crazy.
Idiot.
To all of our listeners out there, don't go do that. Not a good idea.
Don't piss on cars, and if you're gonna do it, don't get caught.
Right? Ridiculous. It was one of the funniest things. So when I went into work the next day, I saw her and I was like, hey, someone's out there taking a dump on your car. And then
Poor car.
and then later on, I was like, we were doing something, and as we were chatting, and I go, oh, I gotta go use the restroom. Where did you park? Oh, I love it.
Good.
I ordered magnets that says employees must wash hands before returning to work, and I'm gonna put them on.
Yes.
I'm gonna put them on our car door.
That's hilarious. That is very good.
But anyway, on to the next case. This one is about a guy named Craig Aylesworth. A brawl between 2 Bithlo, Florida neighbors sent one man to jail on arson charges. Reports show that an argument broke out between Craig Aylesworth, 51, and his neighbor on Amityville Drive in East Orange County, Florida. They both live in a trailer park, so they're like real close neighbors. They're like right there. Now, the records show that the Florida Highway Patrol troopers had to arrest Aylesworths on charges of, and I'm not kidding, tossing a Molotov cocktail at his neighbor's trailer.
What?
Whoa.
A fucking Molotov cocktail in a trailer park.
Insane. That's insane.
Now, for anyone who doesn't know, a Molotov cocktail is an improvised firebomb consisting of a glass bottle filled with flammable liquids, a cloth soaked in like the liquid, sticking out of the top. You light the rag, you throw it breaks. The stuff inside typically sticks to whatever, and the whole thing goes up in flames. Well, unfortunately for Aylesworth here, the wind shifted as he threw it, and the
Oh God.
flames traveled back into his own property, burning 2 cars, a pickup truck, and his trailer.
Oh
Yerp.
my god,
Yeah.
that's incredible.
Aylesworth is facing charges of arson to a vehicle, one charge of throwing a destructive device, and arson of a dwelling. Amazingly,
Even though it's his own.
yes, amazingly, no one was hurt. Yeah, you can't set your own house on fire. It's you'd have to pay the town to be there to help keep it controlled.
True.
Yeah, you can't just set shit on fire. At least that's my understanding of it. On to this next one. This one's from Massachusetts.
Oh wow.
So in Longmeadow, Massachusetts, sheriff's deputies arrived at 49 Memory Lane to oversee and enforce the eviction of a 79-year-old man named Alton King Jr. He was a retiree who had lived in this address for decades. He'd spent the past few years fighting foreclosures, and he was at the courthouse that morning to ask a judge for a stay. Now, the battle that he had been going on with the town, or the state, whoever controls that sort of thing, that had garnered a lot of attention from local activists who were devoted to fighting unlawful foreclosures. And a handful of them were outside the house in protest. Now, the deputies were waiting for King to return when a blue SUV with a landscaping trailer pulled up into the driveway. A woman by the name of Rory Woods stepped out from behind the wheel, walked to the back, like the rear of the trailer, which had about a half a dozen wooden boxes. She then carried some of the boxes to the yard and began to shake them. Why is she doing this, you might ask?
I am asking.
Because with the temperatures that day being in the low 50s, it was too cold for the bees to just fly out normally, so she had to coax them out.
What?
Yeah, she started unleashing bees on the officers that were there to evict this man.
That's hilarious.
So a deputy, realizing what she was doing, tried to stop her, but he started getting stung on the face and he had to retreat.
Oh god.
Yeah. So that's
pretty iconic.
Him retreating bought Woods enough time to pull the rest of her beekeeper suit on, with the vented hood covering her face.
Mm-hmm.
And she made it to the house where she continues to unleash these bees. At this point, 3 more officers marched forward to stop her, but they too were stung by so many bees they had to fall back. It took 30 minutes for officers to be able to handcuff this woman, and the whole time protesters were cheering her on.
That rocks.
Oh my god.
How ridiculous is that?
That's fucking awesome.
At one point, as she's being led to the cruiser, she was told by an officer that some of the other officers were allergic to bees, to which her response was, "Oh, you're allergic? Good."
Oh, shit.
Oh my god. Savage.
So 55-year-old Woods was charged with 4 counts of assault and battery by means of a dangerous weapon, bees. 3 counts of assault by means of a dangerous weapon, bees, and disorderly conduct. She was heralded as a folk hero.
Absolutely.
So freaking funny. And
that's hilarious.
I mean, it goes on, like, I understand that there's a whole problem with predatory lending leading to foreclosures. I understand what she's protesting, but that's still fucking hysterical.
Oh, yeah, it absolutely rocks.
Right. And for the record, because I did look this part up, there is a study that suggests that only 0.3% of the population are allergic, like deadly allergic to bees, whereas 8.9% are just kind of casually allergic. So it's unlikely that a death would have arisen, but, here we are. It's hysterical.
But yeah, it is a little dangerous to release singing bees.
Yeah, it's so, I wish I could have seen that.
Oh, yeah. Oh, to have a camera.
The cops must have just been like, what the fuck is this woman doing? And then all of a sudden there's just
how is
fucking
this happening?
bees. And the guy who got stung once and backed up, I'm blown away by that. And again, maybe it's because I know I can take a bit more pain, but like I wouldn't have stopped just because of a single bee sting. But I'm also not allergic to bees.
Yeah, it would have to take several for me to back down.
How does that Dane Cook joke go? I would punch every bee in the face. Sorry. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. All right, here we go. A deputy in Baxter County, Arkansas, noticed some suspicious activity coming from a parked car one night. He saw that the car was rocking back and forth in a strange manner, so of course
Oh, leave him be.
he pulls over and approaches. According to the report, when the officer investigated the quote-unquote bizarre movement, he allegedly found 55-year-old Theodore Morgavan, who was having an intimate time with a stuffed animal.
Oh, God, what?
Please leave him alone. Oh, my God.
However, during the search of the vehicle, they found a purse that he had, and allegedly that purse had drug paraphernalia as well as 3 grams of meth.
Well,
So he
I
thought
once
it was
again
something
say,
that it wasn't.
leave him be.
He was seeing shit, and he thought he was with some hot
Right.
blonde, and it was...
Right, leave him alone, all right? He's on meth. His life's not already very good.
Leave him and Fluffy alone.
For real.
Morgavan was charged with 2 counts of possession of a controlled substance, public sexual indecency,
Okay.
possession of drug paraphernalia, and other charges. So he probably has to register as a sex offender as well for having sex with a stuffed toy.
In public,
I would
yeah.
laugh my ass off if they actually wrote it like that.
Oh my God, that would be hilarious.
Imagine having to go door to door and explain to people why.
Explaining it to your next job? Like that,
Yeah,
that's worse
that's tough.
That's worse than the kid who's going to be like, yeah, I was pissing on someone's car in a parking lot. Like, at least that one's like, all right, so you were young and stupid. This one's not
Right.
not that. So he's pled not
Right.
guilty. He's pled...
He will never work at Build-A-Bear.
Wow. I did not see that coming. That's a good one. Oh man, so he pled not guilty. He's due back in court in December, but we'll see what happens. A lot of these are new-ish, so I apologize for not having full resolutions. But there was a note that said it is not known what became of the stuffed animal or if it has since been cleaned.
Oh, God.
It's in therapy.
Yeah, right. It's going to survivor meetings.
Oh, my God.
And I don't mean to make fun of survivor meetings. They are very important for the people who have suffered. But the teddy bear, or whatever the hell it was, yeah, anyway. Whew. All right. On to the next one. I told you I have a bunch of short ones this week, but totally worth it.
That's all good.
Well, I love them all. They're my favorite.
So, I'm sorry, as I was just reading, I just suddenly remembered which case this is, and I started laughing. Okay.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go.
Oh boy.
So a foolproof disguise and a meticulously planned getaway would rate highly on any armed robber's to-do list, right? I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, makes perfect sense.
However, James Allen's failed robbery of a convenience store, which was called Martin's Newsagent in Oxfordshire, UK, took place without any such things. Not only did the staff know him as a regular customer, he had also robbed that exact same place 10 days beforehand.
Are you shitting me?
Yep. So things went from bad to worse for Allen, who went in clutching a toy gun and took exactly 134.98 pounds from the till. But when he did so, for whatever reason, he chose to remove the balaclava he was wearing, the little mask, in full view of the camera.
Oh my God.
What?
Then, as he was trying to leave, he seemed to forget how doors worked because he couldn't figure out why, as he was pushing on the door, it wouldn't open.
And this is a place he's at regularly. Amazing.
Instead of pulling on it, he became frustrated at his own inability to open it, and he started kicking at the glass panel.
Oh my God.
Oh my Lord.
At which point he fell over backwards.
Did he knock himself out?
Oh my God.
Hold on. He fell over backwards onto a display of bottles, knocking them over as well as himself all over the floor.
Oh my God.
So eventually, this woman who he was robbing had to come over and help him out by opening the door for him.
She's just like, get fucking out of here, dude.
So Allen, of course, was arrested. James Allen was arrested and given 3 years for robbery. He pled guilty to possession of a firearm, or imitation firearm in this case, and he was sentenced to only 2 years for that, if you can believe that.
You know, when you only manage to steal a little over like 100 pounds, what's that, maybe like $200
Exactly,
max?
exactly.
That seems right. If he only had a toy gun.
Well, apparently they're going to let his sentences run concurrently, so he might even be out sooner. Who knows?
Oh my goodness.
So funny, though. This can't figure out a door.
That's really funny.
But what kind of moron robs a place you go to regularly that you just robbed 10 days before?
Yeah, that's insane. And the crazy they didn't get caught the first time either.
Well, and that's what I was thinking. Like, did they just be like, yeah, whatever, he didn't take that much or something? I don't even know.
Who knows? Maybe they didn't recognize him the first time.
Maybe not. Yeah, maybe after the first time they were like, oh yeah, that's the guy. Because you might not have even clocked him prior to that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we're on to our last one, and this one takes place in New Hampshire. So for those for those listeners who don't know, we're all from New England, so we love when we do these New England episodes. So this one is real recent, and it is fucked up.
Are they going to take your state's motto to be serious here?
The live free or die? Oh,
yeah.
Just wait. This is good. This is good. I've been talking about this for days at work, actually.
Oh, boy.
So this is the case of Kelly Tedford, which I think would be so funny if you knew her, Joyous.
That would be very funny.
She's, I think, just a few years younger than you, so there was a chance, because she's from Keene.
You know?
It's possible.
It's possible. It doesn't sound familiar, but, you know, could be.
It'd be funny if you saw a picture and you're like, oh my God, I know exactly who that is.
I was expecting it to maybe be a younger sister of someone you grew up with or something.
Yeah. Well, who knows?
Well, she was arrested in February of 2025 for contaminating items at a grocery store with her urine over the course of several years.
Ew.
And posting videos of it online.
You know what? I think I heard about this.
Really? That's so funny.
Yeah. It's so gross.
Kelly Tedford, 23, posted videos of herself to an undisclosed internet site, which I'm going to assume is like OnlyFans or Patreon or something.
Yeah.
Showing herself contaminating items at Monadnock Food Co-op with her urine in Keene, New Hampshire.
Gross.
One of her videos literally is captioned with, "Ask me how I pissed in a beta fish at Petco. Hit me up to buy customs I just made." Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So with the Petco one, I can't imagine she's managing to, I don't know, hoist herself over a fucking pot, a
no,
fish
I feel like
bowl.
she's got like a spray bottle of piss.
Yeah, and she's pissing in the bottle.
Got like little vials of it somewhere, and she's dropping little things in.
It's just absolutely crazy. So
yeah, that's gross.
An anonymous report about the posts were made to police on February 14th of 2025. Several other videos created by Tedford have been reviewed by investigators. The Keene Police Department has stated, quote, "At this time, it appears likely that similar historic incidents occurred in Keene and surrounding communities where Tedford contaminated items and or surfaces with urine, as several videos appeared to be recorded as early as 2021. Unquote.
Gross.
So I'm glad that I don't shop at that particular supermarket, but who knows what her area of operation is.
Oh, God, no.
So the grocery store removed the contaminated products on February 15th, the day after they were notified, but they went back and realized that it also happened on February 10th. So the store issued a recall urging customers to dispose of any impacted products that were purchased between those dates. The affected products were quinoa, cornmeal, polenta, coconut shreds, and walnuts.
Gross.
So fucking nasty.
Such a random strew of stuff too.
Yeah.
Well, most of it
Ew.
will absorb, which is the crazier part. I actually think it's quite well thought out, because if you don't want to know it's there, you don't want a puddle, you have to do it in something that's going to absorb it. And a co-op strikes me as like a health food place where like you might be able to scoop out your own portions of it.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's not sealed in plastic, which again is how she's getting away with it, my guess.
Ew.
The grocery store went on to state that upon notification from law enforcement, they immediately reviewed store videos, identified the affected products, removed them from their shelves, and sanitized all surfaces.
Yeah, you gotta.
That's
That's
so
real
nasty.
nasty.
So gross. So they said they also reached out to members who were like at risk, because obviously the elderly and children, we don't know what's in her urine. That's the other side of this.
Right.
They did say that no fresh produce, meat, seafood, or prepared foods, or even refrigerated products were affected. But again, that makes sense because you're not going to get away with it by pissing on those things.
Right.
So the Monadnock Food Co-op suffered a financial loss in excess of, amazingly, only $1,500 in contaminated merchandise and cleaning. I actually thought it was going to be a lot worse. Yeah.
I'm surprised it's so low.
I mean, I would expect them to have lessened business because of it, although it's like really not their fault.
Right, and who knows what that impact has been. Like they're
Right.
not going to tell the public that. Now, Tedford was charged with criminal mischief, which, as minor as that sounds, is actually a Class B felony.
Holy crap.
That's what I said. I was like,
That's crazy.
I think her crime should be a felony, but calling it criminal mischief does not sound very, I don't know, felonious.
Yeah,
No, that
just
sounds
using
like
the
a
word mischief is an odd thing.
Right? You sound like you sound like Loki or something,
Yeah.
So she was released on personal recognizance bail and was scheduled for an arraignment on April 7th. However, it wasn't long before she was facing new trials on an incident at a Keene hotel.
Oh, dear.
At said hotel, the Marriott Hotel in Keene, Kelly Tedford allegedly urinated on a comforter blanket, a Bible, curtains, into the air conditioner.
Oh, the pissing is escalating.
She defecated on the floor and put feces in the tank behind the toilet.
Ew.
So fucking weird.
Ew.
All those.
She's trying to make her last OnlyFans income before she goes to jail.
Instead of 2 girls, 1 cup, it's 2 turds, 1 hotel room.
Ew.
2 turds, 1 tank.
Something, man.
Gross.
Amazingly, all of those charges that she's now facing are misdemeanors. So,
Wow.
I know,
Okay.
right? I mean, I guess you're just trashing a hotel room, really.
Right.
So Tedford was once again released on personal recognizance, and her bail hearing is scheduled for April 28th, which is passed, but there's no further information. I don't know what's happened since, as we're waiting for all this to gear up again.
Rude. They need to tell us.
This is so funny. I searched hard. I was like, if that just passed, there has to be information. I'm going to guess it was continued, and that's why there's no information.
Wow.
But that is the final case of our murder ballad fumbles this month, this
Those
quarter.
were some really good ones.
Wow. That was some real fumbles.
Yeah.
I have to admit, my favorite case is still the bees and the guy fighting with the door.
Bees rocked.
And the guy fighting with the door. Those are my 2 favorites.
Yeah, those are some top quality ones.
Yeah. But yeah, so and I like that we had 2 from New England. I was like, once I saw the Keene, New Hampshire, and the Long Meadow, Massachusetts, I was like, oh, we're doing those this week.
There you go.
So
Come on, piss lady.
I think it's so funny if you knew. I guarantee you, if you reach back out to your childhood friends, at least one of them has to know who this person is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Bizarre.
it's so close to where you grew up. I was like, it has to be. but who knows?
Yeah.
So, but all right. Thank you everybody for listening. Once again, I am Janice Dead,
I'm Jameson Dead.
And I'm Joyous Dead.
and we'll see you next week.
Bye.